Confucianism thoroughly. However, I have some idea that the human rights have some human rights thought in its nature. That's why I'm going to present this topic today. My topic will be human rights in Confucianism. As it is, human rights notion exists in Confucianism. Usually, many scholars deny the human rights concept in Confucianism. Confucianism is only a governing tool for the prince, not for people. However, I think that there was lots of human rights ideas in there, including some benevolence and righteous and something like that. That's why I have focused human rights concept in Confucianism. This is a picture of Confucius. My idea, as I told you, is the human rights notion existed in Confucianism. As I told you, most scholars deny this concept. However, I'm going to explain there are lots of ideas, lots of teachings for peoples and for princes to establish human rights ideas in Confucianism. As all of you already know that our university was established in 1389 based on Confucianism's teaching. This is the picture when you enter our university main gate on the right side. This picture you may see it today. There was two big ginkgo trees. In every shrine of Confucius, there are ginkgo trees because Confucius taught his teachings on the ginkgo rostrums. That's why there was a ginkgo trees on both sides of the entrance of the shrine of the Confucius. You may see after completing today's conference, and I suggest that you'd better to see the whole view on the top rooftop of this building after this conference. Can I find human rights concept in Confucianism? It's the main concept, the main conception of mine. However, as I told you, it has been common to consider that there is no human rights notion in East Asia traditional ideas. However, some raise that there is human rights thought in Confucianism after reviewing it from the perspective of modern philosophy. And some others question that the need that there was human rights in Confucianism. I prefer this second one. Some raise that there was human rights thought in Confucianism after reviewing it. Most scholars find the origin of human rights idea from natural law doctrine. The intellectual achievements of the 17th century increased the belief in natural law and universal order. And during the 18th century, a growing confidence in human rationality and in the perfectibility of human affairs led to its more comprehensive expression, such as Magna Carta, Petition of Rights, Declaration of Independence in the United States, Declaration of Rights of Men and of Citizens in France were made from this background. Likewise, Confucianism seeks the roots of everything from universal moral order called benevolence, pronounced Ren in Chinese, righteous, pronounced Yi, courtesy, pronounced in Chinese Li, wisdom, Zi, and considered these moral orders are immanent in human. From the perspective of this kind of interpretation of Confucianism, Confucianism is the idea which set importance on human. From this perspective, it has some notion or some sort of human rights idea. In order to compare human rights idea from Western Hemisphere to the Oriental thought, I would like to explain development of human rights in international law. This is the whole development in the field of human rights in international law. Even in Greek period, there was some human rights concept was alive. Isauria, Estonia, Isnomia, Estonia. Isauria means the equality of communication. Isnomia is equality of laws. Estonia is equality of dignity of people. However, international law scholars deny the concept of Isauria, Estonia, Historia as a human rights concept. Some scholars argue that this is the original forms for human rights in Greek period. After that, during 13th to 17th century, resistance to religious, political, and economic suppression made them gain freedom from the prince. It will be expressed in Magna Carta, right to petition, the Bill of Rights of each country. During 18th century, by the distinguished legal or political scholars such as Rousseau and Locke, they insisted that democracy was added by the natural law. From this view, human rights come true as an inherent right. This was involved in Declaration of Independence in the United States, Declaration of Rights of Man and of the Citizen in France. In 19th century, there was no natural law approach in there. Instead, legal positivism was developed. They denied inherent right as a human right. However, even in that period, there was some human rights concept alive as humanitarian law. And the strong power of the prince applied their power to enforce human rights to the area such as the labor area, labor part. In early 20th centuries, there was some human rights concept in the field of minority protection. And abolition of slavery was established. During the mid-20th century, protecting human rights is basis of international law, international relations. These phrases were incorporated in the United Nations Charter. That means human rights become issue of international law after establishment of United Nations. By the activity of the United Nations, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, ICCPR, and ICE-SCR was adopted in 1966. And lots of regional human rights conventions were adopted as well. In late 20th century, new human rights concept was evolved, such as human rights on environment, human rights on development. This was the whole flow on human rights development. In the Declaration of Human Rights, and Declaration of Independence, and the Declaration of Rights of Man and of the Citizen, Section 1 provides men are born and remain free and equal in rights. This was the first articulation published in this declaration. This is express provisions regarding on human rights, I think. This development will be classified like this: first generation, second generation, and third generation of human rights. First generation implies freedom. Second generation means equality. Third generation prevails a brotherhood. From this perspective, we may see some idea from the Confucianism by the Confucius or Lee Yul-gok or Hong Zhong-si, like this. In BC, during BC 551 to 479, Confucius period, there was lots of ideas on human rights in Confucianism can be found. In 1536 to 1584, we have a great scholar such as Yulgo. He insisted lots of human rights concept in his political ideas. In 1610 to 1695, Chinese scholars Huang Zhongzi argued some sovereign concept. Sovereignty comes from people, not by prince. According to the development of human rights, as you already seen, since the time of Confucius, there has been a consciousness of the people. Even before this consciousness was found in Xi Jing, called the Book of Poetry, and Shu Jing, the Book of Historical Documents. Particularly, in the latter, the two ideas of people and the virtue appearing having the same meaning as the concept of the will of God, will of heaven. That is, government is conceived not as coming only from heaven, but as also the task for man, and the consideration is given to avoid popular complaints. Even though it could not completely break away from the authority of the will of heaven, the ideology of consideration for people could be found. During the Mencius period, there is his argument on revolution theory, produced out of his earnest desire to save people. According to Mencius, he insisted the rule of right. We call it 왕노정치. According to his argument, prince should govern with benevolence, disciplining the people after making them wealthy. A prince who was not benevolent should be expelled. This thought influenced to the scholars and politicians of ancient, medieval, modern Asian states such as China, Korea, and Japan. They are Yulgo and Huang Zhongji. From the Huang Zhongji's article, we may see some human rights concept, and the sovereignty comes from the people. In Mingyi Daifanglu, the work of Huang Zhongji, a Chinese thinker in the late Ming Dynasty and the early Qing Dynasty, reputed as the Rousseau of Confucianism. The ideology of the sovereignty of people is expanded and given more importance in the traditional Confucian revolution theory, existing since Mencius. In the history of Confucianism, particularly in the history of Confucianism in Korea, Yulgo, the proponent of a metaphysical combine of reason and spirit, and the synthesis, may be cited as a great thinker to be remembered. His philosophy is considered to be a great reference in presenting the synthesis philosophy and the synthesis logic. With it, it may be possible to supplement what is called demerits in democracy. That is, Confucianism, embodying the ideology of the sovereignty of people, represent a combination of both morality and welfare in a democratic, industrialized society. Then, with the method to find out some argument on relationship between Confucianism and human rights, there are four ideas. First, the two ideas denies the relationship of them, and the second two admit the relations between human rights and Confucianism. First idea told that Confucianism is fundamentally anti-human rights. This comes from Confucianism is just the only governing tool of the prince. Second idea shows that human rights is Western idea, not Oriental. That means human rights idea is not fit in circumstances of the Orient. That's why they deny the human rights and Confucianism relationship. Third idea thought that Confucianism meets human rights and democracy fully. And the last idea thought that admitting long-term pressure under the sovereign tyranny by the anti-democratic, anti-freedom in Confucianism idea, there is underlying philosophy regarding human rights. The strongest idea with regard to the relationship between Confucianism and human rights may be found in the third idea. Confucianism is human rights and democracy fully. So I do agree with their idea. However, I think the fourth idea is most appropriate to understand the relationship between Confucianism and human rights. As you already seen, there was lots of a phenomena on human rights development from the 13th century. Human rights in Western is natural right and inalienable right. But human rights in Eastern philosophy, especially in Confucianism, is quite different from it because there is no idea like natural right. Western philosophers thought that the human rights comes from nature's right, not given by the parents. However, Confucianism based on benevolence. Benevolence make peace to give some human rights ideas to the people. That's the difference. Many differences are there. However, as I told you, Confuciano thought that there was a nature of God, nature of heaven in human beings. That means human nature is comprised of the nature of God. It would be somewhat similar to natural right, as argued in Western philosophers. Let's see the main ideas from the statement of Confucius. He told, people would reach goods when they are taught by morals and ruled by the courtesy, whereas people would not have the shame when they are taught by laws and ruled by the punishment. It meant freedom of life, freedom of body, freedom not to arrest and detention unlawfully by stressing virtuous leadership, not by the criminal punishment. We may draw some ideas on human rights from the statement of Confucius. Furthermore, Mencius stated that he who did his best with heart would recognize his nature. Recognizing his nature make him reach the God's will. God's will contains to protect human beings. From this statement, some scholars deduced that human beings are honorable and human beings should be respected. This is the main idea of teachings from Confucius and Mencius. In addition to the Confucius and Mencius, we have the great scholars in Korea and in China as well. The great scholar in Korea, Lee Yul-gok, requested consistently realization of rights of socially disadvantaged people, insisting rule by virtue, as described in Mencius. Ultimately, it would give welfare to them by protecting their rights. He also insisted the liberty of speech using 신문고, where people can voice their claims. Even though Yul-gok did not use the express phrases such as human rights, there was human rights idea was included in the time. Chinese scholar Huang Zhongxi accepted Juchi's dualism of reasons and virtue, but he rejected the Juchi's assertion that Juchi argued that dignity differed from their birth people by people. However, Hwang Jong-ji strongly denied Juji's assertion. Instead, he insisted that all human beings had good knowledge and they were equal in nature. From these statements of Confucius and Mencius, Yulgok and Hwang Jong-ji, we may draw some human rights thought, human rights concept from the Confucianism, even though most scholars argue that the Confucianism is only a governing tool for prince. Confucianism is based on benevolence, righteous. That means human beings must be respected by the prince. Finally, Hwang Jong-ji argued that sovereignty comes from people, not by prince. And then, even in the case that the prince were not benevolent, people may expel him by order of nature. This is my conclusion. Strictly speaking, Confucianism did not have the same concept of human rights as stated in modern Western philosophy. However, I believe in the context of human rights thought, it had a similar idea, executing rule by virtue or rule by benevolence, based on humanism, based on Confucianism. As you already know, CRC was adopted recently in 1989. However, even before that, human rights, including children's rights, was evolved far more before. Only after, in 1989, CRC may be accomplished by the Convention by the United Nations. Even in the ancient Asia, medieval Asia and the modern Asia, there was a lot of human rights concepts, human rights ideas, including Confucianism. Whereas some or many scholars deny the human rights idea included in Confucianism. We may draw some human rights thought from these teachings. Thank you.